Hi, this is Jared from Shoegnome, and today I want to talk about a couple of things related to Archicad 25 and then mostly some additions I did to the Shoegnome Open Template version 25 for Archicad 25, which I think will be applicable to you whether you use my template or not. And so let's get started. First thing I want to talk about in Archicad 25 is texture fills in sections and elevations. So here's a section. If we go right click, section settings, and then go down to uncut fill surface color here, we're going to change that to surface texture fill and go shaded. When we do that, what we're going to see is we're going to see the JPEG show up there. So just to show you how that changes, this right here is fiber cement building material. It's just white. But if we go down here, find fiber cement, and let's give it something stupid like this stone texture. Archicad's going to think for a second. And then now we've got this awesome like 50s, 60s, 70s bad stone wall texture, which is pretty cool. Now, the thing to note, you can see right here really faintly is the 2D hatch as well. So you get both the 2D hatch and the surface fill, which might not always be what you want. Now, something to note, when you go to the right click section settings and you turn this stuff on, this view will, or this viewpoint, this section will always have that. Whereas here's a different section. Now you can see there's that lovely stone texture. If I let me right click and show you what's going on here. This, instead of being set to surface texture fill, is set to color fill, non-shaded. But you notice there's no color, and the reason for that is under this graphic override, uniform line weight cover fill is white. I have a rule that turns the background fill for all my fills to white. If I change that to no overrides, what we'll see is you get the brown of that awesome stone texture, and then there actually is a very light hatch there. You can see in the windows. You get that. So if you're just using the color of the surface, not the texture, you can use graphic overrides to turn that on and off. If you want to hide this, you have to right click and edit the section elevation settings, which means whether or not you see if you want to see the texture in the section elevations, the simplest way is to have a separate section or elevation marker, so a separate viewpoint to show this. You can edit graphic overrides and say I'm going to override all of my surfaces, or all of my cover fills, which is that button, to be, say, 25%. And when you do that, that will strip it away. But you see what we also lose is all the horizontal lines. So the long-winded thing to say there is if you want to be able to turn on and off color, you do it the previous method of using graphic overrides and setting the section setting to surface color fill rather than surface texture fill. So we, one last time, go to no overrides. You can see that we get the color there. So that's what I want to talk about with texture fills. Now let's go look at some cool things in my template. The first thing I want to talk about is under annotation, that down, is my roof slope marker. Now I've seen people develop these where they're smart and actually pull the roof slope off the roof. I didn't do that. But so I had this in the earlier version of my template, so in 24. And it's nice if you you change the number, it resizes the shape. I asked James Murray from onland.info for some GDL wisdom to help me fix some things. And so he showed me how to fix the symbol so that when we mirror it, the text doesn't get all wonky, because in the old version, the text would mirror. So he showed me how to do that. And then he also showed me how to turn on a prefix. So we can say yes, and I can say like plus or minus, and just add like some bonus text there. So thank you, James. There's no way I would have done this without your help. So that's a cool little symbol. That's really nice. The other object I added into the template is a tub. So here we've got a tub. And if we look at that in 3D, it looks something like this. So this tub I built for a project a year or so ago, maybe more. It was a complex profile of this curve that I then put onto a wall to draw this shape. Then I turned that into a morph, cleaned up some intersections, and then added this little piece right here was a slab for the drain. I then copied and pasted that through multiple projects. And when I'm updating my template for 25, I decided, why don't I go File, Libraries and Objects, Save Selection As Object, and turn it into an object. So that's what I did. In addition to making an object, I'm just doing Command Option O here to open up the object settings. I edited the 2D script, and I made a customized 2D symbol so that the 2D symbol was cleaner. Why that is, if we go into the settings, I also set this up so symbolic or projected. Symbolic is just the 2D symbol I made. If you go projected, you can see that we get some extra lines. It's actually reading the 3D object and showing what it is. The benefit of the projected is you can reshape it. My 2D symbol is a fixed size. But that's a cool little object there. Here are two other tubs that I think are also kind of handy. The 2D doesn't look great, but 3D, here's a square one, here is an oval one. Nice, easy, super simple to reshape. Now the fun part about this is probably the real reason why I included my template, is it's not a tub, it's the bowl 25. So you can see there's a couple of default shapes, and two of these shapes actually work pretty great for a tub. I wonder if this one would as well, and not as good. So, but this is just a bowl that I've then resized. So I think that's worth remembering that sometimes there's objects in Archicad that you can misuse to your advantage. Okay, sticking with the theme of plumbing, in earlier versions of Archicad, I was using the beam tool to create floor drains in showers, and now I've switched over to using columns. So this is a very thin column, and here's its height and width. What I like about this is it's got its center point, or it's got its reference point in the center. So if that becomes a 3-foot drain or a 2-foot drain, or if it becomes 2 inches wide, it's easy to edit in the info box, and it's all going to update in the shape. So same thing, here's a square drain. You know, we could lock it and say it's a 2-inch or a 2-foot square drain or a 6-inch square drain, or we can change it and make it a round drain if it's a round drain. So super flexible, great for, you know, just adding that next layer of detail to your model. So speaking of adding layers of detail, recently did a schematic landscape plan for one of my projects. I wanted to be able to just show the client like the concept of what we thought the backyard could be. So had a green fill, and then another fill that had this, like, that's a gradient radio fill, so that we could just say, oh, you know, there's like a little mound here, so we could, you know, just give the sense of stuff. And then we said, you know what, there's also some trees here. These trees, you know, we place, and then we'll just, you know, change the size to whatever it needs to be. The 3D is turned off on these trees. So if we go to the settings, 3D representation is unchecked. So they're just basically 2D graphics. And then the other thing we had is this fill 20 or 12.5%, the sketch line, just say, you know what, there's some, like, this zone has some plantings. So when you actually put effort into it and you add a house around it, this stuff starts to help the client just understand the the feel of where there's grass, where there's plantings, etc. And it's this sort of thing that I would just be making up project to project or copying from one to the other. And I decided I need to get this into my template so that I remember to use it, and then it's there. The next thing I want to talk about, actually, this is the last thing for the video because I'm going to do a separate video that's going to talk about cabinets. I think that deserves its own video. The last thing I want to talk about in my template is a header with insulation included. So I think window headers are one of these things that is worth modeling. It's easy to model. You need to show it on structural, and headers sometimes conflict because you don't have enough space or whatever. So they're worth modeling. So here's a beam. And if we go and look at that in section, I think for a second. Where did they go? Here we are. Okay. So here's our beam. And then right here, I have a profile offset modifier that is the insulation. So I can just change the thickness of the insulation to whatever I want. I can bring it down to 0 if I don't need it for a window or for a header. So that's great. Let me undo that and jump back to the plan. So here is something weird about my computer's being a little slow today. So here's that beam. And you notice all we're seeing is the reference line. Because what I've done is I've set the floor plan display to projected with overhead. I'm showing the reference line here. And then for the overhead lines, I've changed it to a dotted white line. This is an old trick that's going to be important for when we talk about cabinets in the next video, to hide things that you can't otherwise hide. So what this line should be is probably a hidden line, a dashed line, and let's just make it red. So there is the line that it's supposed to be. But by making it a white dotted line, you're spacing the dots really far apart and making the dots white. You're essentially creating an invisible line. So it's a good hack for something like this where you want to see just this reference line, not the rest of it, but you want to see other beams in all their glory, with all the lines, and don't want to control with model view options. So that's where I'm going to end this today. You can go watch the next video, which is going to be all about the Archicad 25 cabinets, which I know are going to be really divisive, but I think I found a happy place where I'm going to be able to use them. So thank you very much. Go download the Shoegnome Open Template 25 right now because it's there for you waiting as always. And thank you very much.